Hi, I'm Michael, and I'm a scientist, but I wanted to start off with a story, and it's a story that began, I started the first chapter last year, a story about two little girls. My sister, Cindy, is on the left. She was diagnosed 25 years ago with Crohn's disease, and she was diagnosed when her intestines burst. She was so inflamed that her bowels started leaking into her abdomen. After emergency surgery, she got great care. She had good doctors. My parents did everything they could for her, but she was in some ways broken by that experience. She felt alone. She didn't feel like she knew what to do or how to handle what had happened to her. She didn't feel like her meds did anything for her, so she didn't take them. Claire is the other little girl. She's not so little anymore. She's just started college. She's my daughter, and she was diagnosed 18 months ago with Crohn's disease as well. When she was diagnosed, we had a lot of questions. I actually work with Crohn's disease as part of the Collaborative Chronic Care Network, the C3N Project that I'm co-PI of, and so Claire had a lot of questions. What should I eat? What do I do now? What do I tell my friends? What do I think about this? And my wife, Cynthia, had questions too. You know, what should she, what medicines should she be on? What should we do about stress? What should we say about her boyfriend, who we think might be stressing her out as well? That was my hypothesis as well. And I said, you know, I don't know what to do, but I know how to find the answers. And that is the essential question that we're facing here, is how do we do all of this? How is not only, it's partly connecting with the other people who have traveled this road before, who have gone before, the connections that we make either in real life or online. It's also having the tools that allow you to build the kind of information, the kind of data that you need. And so we signed Claire up for a study that we were running. We got her a smartphone. She started tracking her fatigue, her pain, her stress, her bowel movements. She started taking pictures of all the foods she ate. Turns out the boyfriend was not a stressor, my bad. Spicy food was not a stressor, my wife's hypothesis. What was clear, though, was she was having a lot more fatigue than anything else, and we decided to try Carnation Instant Breakfast. Turns out that worked, and so we had, you know, a way to move forward, a way of understanding what it was that she could do for herself. So this notion of how, this question of how, is really the most vexing problem in the healthcare system today. Healthcare is a $3 trillion complex adaptive system in sociocultural context, and the main issue is producing and coordinating information, knowledge, and know-how so that we can get the tech and the people and in the right place at the right time. In coordinating that is producing and coordinating that is the biggest issue. So this idea of everybody learning, creating information, knowledge, and know-how is reflected in the Institute of Medicine's call for a learning healthcare system. This is the idea that healthcare improvement, and healthcare research ought to be intentionally integrated into one system. That every time a doctor and patient meets, they should be generating data that then should be analyzed and combined and aggregated with other data and fed back to the point of care. So this learning health system is a great notion. It's a wonderful idea, and the question then becomes, who should be learning? There are some who feel that experts should be learning, expert researchers, expert clinicians. After all, that's why they pay them the big bucks. But other people are thinking, well, maybe everybody should be learning. Everybody has micro-expertise. Everybody knows something that other people don't have. I've lived this. I've known this. I've seen this. I've experienced this. And you can see where my biases are. But this is the difference between Microsoft Encarta and Wikipedia. And in fact, If you Google Microsoft Encarta, go ahead and Google it. You'll see the first entry is the Wikipedia entry for Microsoft Encarta. And I think it's the third paragraph down, says Microsoft Encarta ceased production in 2009. They couldn't get anybody to subscribe to this thing that people were basically volunteering to produce for free, much better. So this is the idea. This idea is peer production. It's what we think about when we think about peer production. It's a system that distributes the means for producing information, knowledge, and know-how as broadly as possible. So how do we get the tools in place so that everybody can become part of the solution, everybody can contribute their ideas? It's not that nobody cares, it's not that nobody has ideas, everybody cares and has really good ideas. What we don't yet have is a system for harnessing that inherent motivation and the collective intelligence of everybody in the healthcare system. So this is the idea, the big idea behind this, the C3N Project, the Collaborative Chronic Care Network. A peer production model for the learning health system. It's a social and technical and scientific platform for improving health and healthcare. And why is, so okay, this is great, but how does it relate to self-tracking? Well, there are baked-in problems with trying to figure out what to do in the case of you as a patient, or you as a clinician, or you as a patient/clinician. The randomized controlled trial is the gold standard for evidence in medicine, and it's a great tool for understanding whether or not a specific agent was the causative factor in having an effect. And so what does it do? It ends up telling us that on average, this group of patients did better than that group of patients. So when you come in front of your doctor, or when you have a patient come in front of you, nobody's 40%. You're either a 1 or a 0. We just don't know yet. And so the best evidence is inadequate to inform a specific question. The other problem is that there are economic incentives. Randomized controlled trials are really difficult. And so the incentive is, let's do trials on products that are patentable, where we can protect our intellectual property. There's not a lot of incentives to be doing randomized trials on food or lifestyle modifications. And so this leads to what I call not good parallel experiments. So pretend I'm a doctor. I'm not. I'm a psychologist, a social and behavioral scientist. But pretend I'm a doctor, and you come to me and you say, "Hey, doc, I've got something that I think you may be able to help me with." And I say, "Oh, this is awesome because I want to help people. I've got a medication that's been shown to be highly efficacious. It means we've got some really good randomized controlled trial evidence to show that on average this pill works really well for you. Go ahead and take it. Come back in 3 months and we'll see how it went." 3 months go by. And you come back and I say, "So did you take all your pills?" And you say, "Yeah, sure, I did." And I say, "So how did it work?" You say, "Well, pretty good, I guess." And I say, "Okay, that's great. Let's up the dose," or no, let's keep it as we're going. So it's an N of 1 trial. It's a single subject design where we're collaborating together. We're actually doing an experiment, but I say, not so good experiment. You, as a patient, are also trying to actively relieve your symptoms. You're actively trying to fix the problem, and maybe you're trying things like diet changes, or maybe you're trying to exercise or meditate. And because I haven't asked you about that, I may not know about it. So chances are you're trying some parallel experiments as well. And so we thought, what if it was easier to do this? What if there was a way of actually making a system that made this collaboration between doctors and patients a little easier to do? I'm not going to talk about that because we have on stage somebody else who actually is doing that and working with us to do it. But I'm just going to end up by saying this is the path forward for how we could actually make things better together.